AITAH for kicking a customer's autistic child out of my restaurant for misbehaving? My name is Gina, I'm 55, and I'm from upstate New York. My husband, Leo, and I run a family-owned pizzeria, Leo's Hearth, a place we poured our hearts and savings into over 30 years ago. It's more than just a business, it's our legacy, a warm, inviting space filled with the aroma of baking dough, simmering marinara, and melting mozzarella, where families used to gather, laugh, and share stories over checkered tablecloths. For decades, we've weathered economic storms, changing tastes, and the usual hustle of the service industry. But lately, something has shifted, a tide of, well, entitlement, that's the only word for it. The past few years have brought a surge in rude customers, children whose behavior goes unchecked, and a baffling expectation that the world should bend to every individual whim, no matter how disruptive. It's exhausting, honestly. One of our simplest, most fundamental rules, a rule that once went without saying, a basic tenet of public courtesy, is that we don't allow personal devices on speaker. No speakerphone calls, no blaring music, no cartoons at full blast. It's about creating a pleasant atmosphere for everyone, a little haven from the noise. We have small, polite signs, a gentle reminder of a time when such things were just common decency. Before the pandemic, this was never an issue. Now, it feels like we're asking parents to part with a limb if their child can't watch Bluey at stadium volume while everyone else is trying to enjoy their meal. We try to be polite but firm when we enforce it, but the pushback is often astounding. A few weeks ago, on a moderately busy Tuesday evening, it happened again, but this time it escalated in a way that left me shaken and questioning everything. A woman came in with her son, who looked to be about 9 years old. They settled into a booth near the window. Almost immediately, the boy had a tablet propped up, cartoons blaring, and simultaneously, he was scrolling through TikTok on a phone, the sounds clashing into a cacophony that cut through the gentle hum of conversation and the clinking of cutlery. I took a deep breath, plastered on my customer service smile, and walked over. "Excuse me, ma'am," I began, my voice soft. "I understand your son is enjoying his devices, but we do have a policy about no sound from personal electronics. It can be quite disruptive to our other diners." I gestured vaguely to the other tables, where a few heads had already turned. The woman didn't even look up from her own phone initially. Then, with a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of the world's injustices, she finally made eye contact. "He has ADHD and autism," she stated flatly, as if this were a full and complete explanation that should silence any further discussion. "He needs this to sit still without making a fuss. I'm a mother of 5, one of whom, my wonderful Michael, has special needs. I understand challenges. I truly do. I completely understand the need for calming activities," I said, trying to keep my tone empathetic. "Would it be possible for him to use headphones? We even have a spare disposable pair if you need one." She snapped, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "He doesn't like headphones." Her eyes dared me to argue. I felt that familiar knot tighten in my stomach, the one that forms when you're trying to be reasonable in the face of pure unreasonableness. "I appreciate that," I said, my smile feeling increasingly strained, "but the volume is still an issue for our other guests. I have to ask that you either use headphones or please set his devices to silent. He can still watch, of course." She huffed, rolled her eyes dramatically, and muttered something under her breath before fiddling with the tablet, though the volume only decreased marginally. I decided to let it be for a moment, hoping she'd comply fully without further intervention, and returned to the kitchen to check on a large takeout order. Not 10 minutes later, while Leo was stretching dough for a quattro formaggi, a series of loud, rhythmic bangs echoed from the dining room. Thump. 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 My heart sank. I rushed out, and there was the boy, his face contorted in frustration, furiously banging both fists on the tabletop, making the water glasses jump and silverware rattle. The mother? She sat there, cool as a cucumber, scrolling through her phone, utterly ignoring him. It was bizarre, almost like he was performing for her, waiting for a cue, a reaction, anything, but she offered nothing. The rhythmic banging continued, grating on everyone's nerves. "Ma'am," I said, my voice firmer this time, trying to be heard over the din, "you need to please get him to stop. This is very disruptive." She looked up, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. Annoyance? Defiance? "He's on the spectrum," she retorted, her voice rising. "This is just his normal behavior when he doesn't have his devices to calm him down. He's expressing himself." Before I could even process that, the boy, perhaps fueled by the lack of maternal intervention or my renewed attention, suddenly shot up from the booth. He wasn't just banging anymore, he started running. Around our small dining room, he became a miniature whirlwind, weaving between tables, then punching the back of an empty chair, kicking the leg of another occupied table where an elderly couple was dining, their eyes wide with alarm. He knocked over a stand of menus with a clatter. That's when another customer, a large man who'd been quietly eating with his family, finally lost it. "Control your kid or I will," he boomed, his voice echoing through the now silent restaurant, apart from the boy's occasional yelp as he continued his rampage. The mother instantly launched into what sounded like a perfectly rehearsed, almost theatrical monologue. "How dare you," she shrieked, standing up, her phone now held aloft as if she might be recording. "Autistic children have every right to occupy the same spaces as everyone else. This is discrimination. Society needs to be more accepting of neurodiversity. You are all ableist." I agree, children with autism absolutely deserve to be in public spaces, but there's a line. Everyone, regardless of their neurology, needs to behave in a way that doesn't actively harm or grossly disrupt others. "Ma'am," I said, stepping between her and the other customer, my patience completely gone. "This isn't about his diagnosis, it's about behavior that's disruptive and unsafe. If you cannot get your son's behavior under control immediately, you will need to leave." Her face turned crimson. "You can't kick us out. This is illegal. I'll report you. I'll sue you for discrimination. I have a lawyer." Just then, Leo came out from the kitchen, wiping his hands on his apron. He's usually the calmer of us, the gentle giant. He took one look at the scene, the screaming woman, the still darting child, the shocked faces of our patrons, and his expression hardened. He didn't say a word to her initially. He walked to their table, swiftly and efficiently packed their half-eaten pizza and drinks into a to-go box and a bag, and then, placing it firmly on the edge of their table, he looked her dead in the eye. "Get out. Right now," he said, his voice low but carrying an unmistakable authority. She looked genuinely stunned, as if she couldn't believe her performance hadn't yielded the desired outcome. But kids shouldn't be expected to just sit quietly all the time," she stammered, her righteous indignation faltering. "The world needs to be more accepting of those who are different. He can't help it." As she reluctantly gathered her son, who was now whimpering, and her belongings, she continued to mutter about lawsuits and prejudice. The other customers were silent, watching them leave. A few offered quiet words of support to us afterwards. One older woman, Mrs. Peterson, a regular, patted my arm. "You did the right thing, Gina. That wasn't about autism, that was about a lack of parenting." But here's where it got even stranger. As the woman was hurrying out, her oversized handbag bumped against a chair, and her phone, the one she'd been so engrossed in, clattered to the floor, skittering under a nearby table. She was in such a fluster that she didn't even notice. The door slammed shut behind them. A minute later, the phone started ringing, a bright, annoying pop song. Young Tony, our busboy, retrieved it. "Mrs. Gina, she forgot her phone," he said, holding it out. As I took it, the screen lit up with the incoming call, "Manager, Chaos Crew Content House." Chaos Crew Content House? I frowned. I'd never heard of it. Leo looked over my shoulder. Before I could decide what to do, the call went to voicemail, and then a text notification popped up. It was a message from the same manager. "Did you get the restaurant freakout footage? Need it for tomorrow's Karen Encounters compilation. Hope the kid performed well. Tell him bonus if it goes viral." My blood ran cold. Leo read it too, and his eyes widened. We looked at each other, a horrible understanding dawning. This whole scene, the rehearsed monologue, her insistence on filming, the boy's escalating behavior that seemed almost prompted by her lack of intervention, was it all a setup? Were they intentionally creating a scene for social media views? The idea was so cynical, so exploitative, it made me feel sick. We didn't know what to do with the phone. Eventually, about an hour later, the woman called the restaurant from a different number, asking if she'd left it. Leo told her yes, and she could come pick it up. When she arrived, alone this time, she was much quieter, almost sheepish. She wouldn't make eye contact. Leo just handed her the phone, and she mumbled a thanks and practically ran out. We never saw her or the boy again. We talked about reporting her to someone, but who? And what proof did we have beyond a fleeting text message we couldn't access again? The incident, however, did make its way online, but not from her. Another customer, a teenager, had apparently filmed parts of the boy's outburst and the mother's tirade. It was selectively edited, of course, making us look like intolerant monsters kicking out a disabled child. The comments were brutal. We got review bombed for a week. Our phone rang with angry calls. It was a nightmare. We even had a few people show up just to glare at us through the window. But then, something unexpected happened. The man who had shouted "Control your kid," his wife, it turned out, was a local journalist. She'd been there, seen the whole thing. After seeing the online slander, she wrote a balanced piece for the local paper's online portal, including an interview with another diner who corroborated our side, and even mentioned the strange text message I glimpsed. Though she couldn't confirm it, she presented it as part of my account. The tide slowly began to turn. Some of the negative reviews were countered by positive ones from regulars and people who read the article. The calls stopped. The glares became less frequent. I love kids. Leo and I raised 5 of them, as I said, and navigated the complexities of Michael's needs with love, patience, and yes, firm boundaries appropriate for him. Nothing, not autism, not ADHD, not any condition, gives anyone, child or adult, the right to behave in a way that terrorizes a room full of people or destroys property, especially if it might all be for clicks. If a child's issues are genuinely so severe that simply sitting in a restaurant without a device, or with headphones, makes them have a violent meltdown, then perhaps a public restaurant isn't the right environment for them at that particular time, for their own well-being as much as anyone else's. This incident wasn't just about entitlement or bad parenting, it was a horrifying glimpse into a world where even a child's struggles can be weaponized or manufactured for online notoriety. It's left me feeling more wary, more tired, and wondering if the simple pizzeria we built, a place of warmth and community, can survive in this increasingly bizarre and performative world. So, AITAH for kicking them out, even before I suspected the grift? I still don't think so. But the whole experience has certainly added a bitter topping to my daily grind.